Hello, this is Dr. Mears, and today we're going to be doing part 2 of modeling periodic functions. My first video of modeling periodic functions went to about 25 minutes long, and I did want you to take a little bit of a break. It was a lot in one video. I really hope that it helped, especially if you don't have me as a teacher. I hope that it helped you wherever you are in this entire big world. So this is part 2. Let's dive into it. This graph shows the number of fish in a lagoon over a 24-hour period starting at midnight. 24-hour period starting at midnight. So here we go again. We are dealing in military time here. So after midnight, this is 2 a.m., 4 a.m., 6 a.m. All of a sudden, we get to 12 p.m., and this is 2 p.m., 4 p.m., 6 p.m. If you want to keep labeling it, go for it. If you want a more thorough explanation of how 1400 hours is 2 p.m., then you can go back to part 1. All right, but let's see what's going on in this graph. So first, for our y-axis here, we have the number of fish. So we're looking at fish in a lagoon. And if you are into environmental science, you will be doing this a lot. Or even marine biology. There you go. And in our y-axis, it is the hour. So we are going to be making a equation here. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to skip down to see if it's sine or cosine, because in our other video, we had to find a horizontal shift, and it really depends on if it's sine or cosine. So we are going to be focusing on the sine graph, which will help us out when we get there. Okay, so knowing that, let's go through and do part A. First, let's find the maximum number of fish in the lagoon. All right, that's the highest point, as you know. So our maximum is all the way up here. So our maximum number of fish is 20. So let's do 20 fish. Perfect. Okay, and part B, that's it. Part B, how many fish were in the lagoon at midnight? So remember, this is the number of hours after midnight. So at midnight is right here. This is 12 a.m. And that's it. So that's 12 a.m. I believe so. Yes, 12 a.m. And then 2 a.m., 4 a.m., 6 a.m. So 12 a.m., 2 a.m., 4 a.m., so on and so forth. Okay, so how many fish were in the lagoon? So let's go up until we meet the graph, and we're right here. So we are at about 10 fish in the lagoon. Hopefully you can't hear my phone. It is ringing, but I'm not stopping the video. Okay, we need to write down the equation of the function in terms of y and x. So the last video we did in M and H were meters and hours. I like this better because I do like using y and x. So I have y equals a sine b times x minus c plus d. And I am going to go over quickly A, B, C, and D. So we are going to have to fill in all of these numbers here. X and Y stay. They don't get removed from the equation, and the sign stays as well. Okay, so to find A is amplitude. And amplitude we get from taking the max and subtracting the min and dividing by 2. So we know that our max is 20. And if we look, our minimum is going to be at 0. So 20 minus 0. And we're going to divide it. Oh, no, sorry. Don't write down that. And we're going to divide it by 2. Okay. So then we have 20 divided by 2, which gives us 10. So our A equals 10. So we do have our first number. Perfect. Okay. Let's do B. B is period. And so remember, period has to be in pi radians, so we're going to do 2 pi divided by, and remember the number on the bottom is 1 cycle on x-axis. So we have to do 2 pi divided by, and we have to look at our graph. So here we're at 10. So we have to look, how long does it take to get back to 10 after going 1 maximum down to 1 minimum, back at 10. And so it's about right here. That's tough. So let's estimate a little bit. We are doing it from a graph. We do count by 2s here. So right in the middle would be about 13. So this would be about 13 here. This point isn't quite in the middle. So I am going to say that this point roughly is about, I'm going to go 12.5. Now, if you're a little off, it's okay. It's okay. We're estimating from a graph. So if you said 13, it is very close. It is close enough. I am going to give you credit, but I do want to be precise here, and I do know that it's 12.5. So I'm going to go 12.5. All right, so it's going to be 2 pi divided by 12.5. And because we're dealing with 12.5, I'm just going to divide it out in my calculator. We're just going to get the decimal. Oh, let's second quit out of here. And so I'm just going to do 2 pi, I like to do it in parentheses, divided by 12.5. Whoops, 12.5, okay? And I get 5.026. So I'm going to do 5.03. Oh, sorry, 0.5. Okay, 0.503. So all I did was I just rounded to here. So 0.503. There we go. Okay, and that's B. 0.503. All right, we're moving along. All right, C. Now, C is the horizontal shift. And remember, for sine, because that's what we're doing, remember, the middle of the graph, the very middle, starts at 0. So if we shift it, then it might look something like where the minimum is at 0. Or if we shift it, the maximum might be at 0. But if the middle is still at 0, then we didn't go anywhere. So it just depends on what it looks like. So let's see. So this is where we started from. We start where the middle is at 0. So let's see if we shift it anywhere. Okay. So this graph, if we did continue going back down, go back down and back up. So our middle of our graph is right here. Because remember, it goes back to amplitude. Amplitude is 10, right? So if we went up from 10 to 20, that's 10. Amplitude equals 10. So the middle of the graph is right here. It is at 10. So the middle is still at, even though the original graph would be here, it just shifted up. It didn't shift left or right. Okay, so the middle is still at 0. Let me repeat that. The middle of this graph still happens on the y-axis. It didn't go anywhere. It just moved up, and that's a vertical shift. So our horizontal shift here is 0. It didn't move. It didn't move left or right. It's still on the y-axis. But the vertical shifted. So this did move, but where did it go? It went from here up to 10. So we have a vertical shift up, which is going to be our D, which is going to be 10. I'm going to move that down. Oh, my legs. Sorry about that. Okay, so we have all of our numbers. Let's just substitute them in and get a nice equation. All right, y equals A, 10, sine B, 0.503, x minus c. So now c is 0. So we could put, if you wanted to, x minus 0, if that would make you feel comfortable, that's absolutely fine. Okay, I'm going to simplify it a little bit. Let's put that in for now. And then plus d, close your parentheses, plus 10. All right, we can simplify this to y equals sine 0.503x plus 10. And some people even like to put parentheses around our sign. This is fine. This is all being multiplied here. So you don't need the parentheses. So when this is 0, it really simplifies nicely where you don't really need to get confused with those parentheses. If you like it this way, keep it. It's not incorrect. So you're fine. And our last question, yay, there is no backside or another piece of paper underneath this. How many fish were in the lagoon at 2 p.m.? All right, so yes, it's a substitution problem. How many people were in at 2 p.m.? However, this is 2 p.m. we don't have 2 p.m. We have 0 to 24. We have number of hours after. So where is 2 p.m.? And you guessed it. Here is 2 p.m. right here. So we're going to use our equation. Okay, we are going to substitute a number in, but it's not going to be 2 p.m. Our x is actually going to be 14 because that's the number of hours after midnight. Okay, so let's use our equation. I'm going to use the simplified one, so much easier in the calculator. Where I have my x, I'm going to use 14 because that's the number of hours. That's what 2 p.m. is, 1400 hours after midnight. I like to say 14 hours after midnight. Sorry, military time I switch back and forth from. I'm so used to saying 100 hours. Sorry, 14 hours after midnight plus 10. So y equals, sorry about that, 100 hours, my bad. 14 hours after midnight. So we're just going to end our calculator. Oh, make sure we are in pi radians. So mode, make sure you are in radian, which we are. Okay, so 10 sine 0.503. And then times 14. Now notice how it opened up my parentheses here. Okay, so I had to put times 14. You could also put the multiplication symbol here. That's fine. But because it opened it up and I used parentheses here and here, you do have to close these parentheses. You do have to do that. Plus 10. And I'm going to get y equals 16.89. So about, and remember we're in fish. About, I'm not going to round up. 16 fish. Because we don't have 0.89 of fish. We don't have 17. We can only round down here because we're talking about fish. Now, if you wanted to, in the calculator, do sine of 0.503 times, 10 sine 0.503. It opened up your parentheses. If you want to do times 14 and then close it, you can do that as well so that you're not dealing with these double parentheses. It is another way to do it, and then plus 10. You get the same answer, so you could use this multiplication sign if you want to. I don't want you getting all confused with parentheses. This is not a parentheses lesson. It really is knowing that this is multiplication, and you just have to make sure you close parentheses and that plus 10 is outside. And it's also reminding you, we got the decimal, 0.89. We're talking about fish because I want to know how many. We have to round down to 16 fish. Okay, this has been Dr. Mears. This has been part 2. We looked at a graph. We made a sine equation. We used it to substitute our numbers in. We had to transfer 2 p.m. to 14 hours after midnight. So y equals the equation with the 14 substituted in, and we got about 16 fish. Hope it helped.